Welcome, everybody. We're here today to talk about the future of automation and give a quick introduction to Ignition by Inductive Automation. With me, I have Frank Costa from Sandalwood Engineering and Ergonomics, and I'm Tim Stuart from Visual Decisions. Frank, could you give a quick introduction to yourself and Sandalwood?
Yeah, sure. My name is Frank Costa. I always say 20 years. Now it's 25 plus, almost 30 years in manufacturing. Started off as a controls engineer and just sort of moved up. And I've been working for Sandalwood for 21 of those years. We're an engineering and safety firm. You think automotive, we've got all those processes, health and safety, and obviously I'm with the system integration group, basically IT.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. So we're here today to talk about inductive and the future of automation. Let me switch modes here a little bit because I believe you've got some slides. And oh, that's doing wonderful things with my shirt as I minimize that.
Yep.
So if you don't mind kicking us off and give us a quick introduction to the topic and where we're going to, what the state of industrial automation is today.
Sure. So if you're on here, right, a lot of facilities are running on old and legacy systems. We're talking about older HMIs that are running standalone SCADA, that sort of footprint. And over the last 20 years of this revolution, I guess, those systems have, they've done the job, but they aren't really built for today's needs. They're usually hard to scale, tough to integrate by today's standards for sure. And a lot of it is there's a lot of costs in time, in upkeep, and in licensing. I mean, that's kind of where we are today. And there's a shift happening in the industry. There's a push towards Industry 4.0 where companies are looking for more connectivity, better access to real-time data, and ways to use that data to make smarter decisions. We're talking about things like cloud integration, edge computing, remote monitoring, even predictive maintenance driven by analytics. And that's kind of where Ignition comes in. It's a modern industrial platform designed from the ground up to handle today's challenges. It's fully web-based, runs on basically every operating system, including containerized environments. And what I love about it is it uses an unlimited license model, which means you don't have to do a price per tag, per client, or per device. You're basically limited with the hardware you're running it on. So whether you're looking to modernize your old system, extend your existing system, or just start from the ground up, Ignition gives you that flexibility to scale, that gives you the tools to connect, and it gives you the freedom to innovate sort of without getting locked into proprietary ecosystems that were pretty plentiful in days past.
Yep. I was just talking with a vice president of ops from a very large appliance manufacturer a couple of weeks ago. And one of the things he mentioned to me was they have 10,000 points that they're collecting data from today across the plant. And they could do 10,000 more and get value from all of those, but it's costing him about, his estimate was $540 per data point to pull into their systems and work with that. And it's exactly the topic for today. It's too expensive to scale, so he's not getting data from those additional data points just because of the cost.
Yeah, cost it's a huge concern, right? Whether it's understanding what those reoccurring costs are, and sort of Ignition does away with that question. Just gonna just do a quick like primer
Yeah.
of what Ignition is. It's basically an industrial application platform. So it's not a SCADA system, it's not an MES system, it's not an ERP. It's a platform, and it was developed by Inductive Automation, based out of Folsom, California, and it enables rapid development of SCADA, MES, IoT, um, ERP if you want to go that route. It's, again, I said it 3 times already, but it's a platform, so you can kind of do what you want with it. It's built on modern software technologies, and its big focus is on that connectivity, its ability to scale, and it's just general usability, right? You can have it as a standalone sort of running all your manufacturing needs, or it has those connectors into modern ERP and MES systems, so you can use it just as a SCADA or as a work instruction module. And again, because the licensing is so flexible, you can pay for it once and be done with it, or you can work on a sliding scale of support contracts that have to do with the software, not so much with the implementation, because it's basically, you can create things the way your process, your product, your manufacturing environment sort of lives.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, we've both worked with a whole bunch of different systems over the years.
Yep.
And from a scalability point of view, just looking at the scalability point of view, I can't think of anything that I would put on top of Ignition in terms of the model, the licensing, the platform capabilities, and so forth. I think when it comes to scalability, I can't think of anything that's better.
Yeah. And it helps in so many different areas, right? A lot of the pain points that come up with these sort of systems. So I've got a couple things here up on the slide, right? We talked about legacy systems. They're running outdated SCADA and HMI systems that are difficult to maintain. We talked about it. They lack modern features, and they aren't designed for, again, the connectivity or the integration with outside services. So Ignition solves that problem. You can go completely web-based, making it cross platform or platform agnostic. So you can run the interfaces on Android, on iOS, on Windows, Linux, Macs, you name it, it'll run on it. Anything that's got a HTML5 backed browser, it'll run. I mentioned it was built on modern technologies. You can create extensions for it using Java. It'll interface with both SQL and NoSQL type databases, and obviously has support for the legacy OPC DA as well as OPC UA for flexibility. And it offers that unified development environment. So you can work on HMIs. You can run them all in using Ignition or Ignition Edge, and you can use that same development platform to update, modify your SCADA or MES solution. So it's a single extensible platform. Yeah, and another one of the issues is traditional systems, they work in silos with limited or no communication between devices and software and cloud services. Sometimes when you're in a proprietary data system, it works really well with maybe the family of PLCs that it was designed for, not so well with other devices that aren't in that family. And again, Ignition, it can connect to virtually anything. Again, OPC UA, DA, obviously there's Modbus protocols, it's MQTT, out the door. It supports integration with cloud services, through either consumption through API REST points, or you can create API REST points right in the software in the designer for use for those other systems. and it's built, it's got built-in support for IoT, and it'll enable both that real-time data sharing and that historical capture for
Yep.
sure.
And we've talked a lot about the scalability from a cost point of view and so forth. And I think that you touched on something else that's important, which is if you compare it to something like a out of the box machine monitoring system, that has predictive maintenance, that has OEE calculations and things like that, they might be a little bit easier to get running, at first, but they don't have the extensibility of capabilities that you get with something like Ignition, where Ignition is really one of those things that can do just about anything you want it to do on the shop floor. You just have to, use the tools that are there to, extend the capabilities. But it's another form of scaling that the system can provide in terms of handling all those edge cases that a lot of systems can't.
Yeah, for sure, right? Those out of the box systems, and there's nothing wrong with them. I want to be clear, but they're designed to do, X, Y, and Z. They're designed to do certain things, and sometimes, they require you bending your process to the software, which again, you might be able to get going maybe a little bit quicker. But Ignition, you're designing the system that you want to scale with your needs. So there might be initially a little bit of overhead to do that design. But if you work with people in the know, integrators that are well versed with Ignition, those early steps can help commonize some of the approaches, and that allows for much faster scalability. And again, your costs don't increase with the more data or connections that you have, right? Again, there's no per client fees, there's no per tag charge. You can just run the gateway, and if you need more, you can go ahead and spin up another gateway, again, depending on the load that you're working at. And the two talk to each other and can be set up to share resources. So it really lowers that cost of ownership and allows for that full scalability. And again, the support, um, um, the support licensing, if you want to call it that, it's the wrong word. Support contracts sort of scale to the needs of your company, focusing more on the usability of the software than your own implementation.
And I mean, let's talk a little bit more about the kind of core value proposition for the solution. I think what we're building a really good case for at this point is the value proposition for large implementations. But I think we can touch on the fact that even for smaller or mid-sized manufacturers, Ignition can provide a lot of value in the things that it's capable of and so forth, as well as for the larger companies.
Yeah, for sure. You've worked with me long enough to know I can go down a rabbit hole and list a whole bunch of different factors, right? When it comes to Ignition's core value prop. But I boiled it down on this slide to four. Again, that unlimited licensing that allows you to scale as much or as little as you want. The web-based deployment cannot overstate that. They do have a more traditional client-based module, which I can highlight next, where you actually load a software, gives you more high-level OS control. But when you're going through a web base, you're no longer tied to specific hardware either. You can throw up a tablet on the side of your cabinet, and you'll get the same functionality as you would, an HMI. And because it's unified, you do get that real-time control and visualization based on your needs. You and I have worked on how many OEE projects, and the number one question we ask is, how do you calculate OEE, right? You have that flexibility to go through and imbue the system with your own algorithms, your own thoughts, and your own approach to manufacturing.
Mhm.
And again, being web-based to deploy instantaneously once you get through the dev and the QA environments. And as I mentioned before, it is it is IoT ready out of the box. So it communicates and works excellent with MQTT as a protocol, which supports, again, the OPC UA standard. And more, we're seeing companies go through and augment their already running systems with these smart sensors or IoT-enabled sensors. And, you know, a lot of them, they're communicating over MQTT because it breaks down that barrier between communication and protocol and that system ingesting the data. So
Right.
just to bring it all around, you know, unlimited license, it's web-based, real-time with good visuals, and it's ready for that, for what we're seeing now and what we're looking to see in the future as far as telemetry data from your manufacturing floor.
Thanks. Can you give us a little bit more detail around some of the core functionality and capabilities of the system itself?
Sure. I'll touch on a couple of points here. So I'll talk to, you know, how you design and actually run the system. Basically, it's broken down into two sections. There's a designer, excuse me. It's fully integrated, drag and drop development. A lot of what you see is what you get. To build HMIs, dashboards, reports and whatnot. That's an install file that is put on your development machine. Again, supports Mac, supports Linux, supports Windows. So in there, you've got sort of this one single, and then there's the runtime, and that refers to the live execution of the projects you create in the designer. So in that runtime, there are two modules. There's a vision and perspective. I'll touch on that in a second. So one fully web-based that allows whatever you've created in the designer to be rendered on an HTML5 enabled browser. And then we have the more traditional perspective, vision that runs on the actual hardware locally. And because they've gone through and split the designer and the runtime, you know, changes that you make in the designer aren't necessarily cascaded to runtime. So you can keep developing in the background while your manufacturing floor is using what you currently have in place.
Excellent.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that that's an excellent feature. So it kind of has a built-in dev and prod environment just within it.
Correct. The nice thing about how Ignition is built, it's actually built modules, so you can purchase the modules separately. I like to talk about, you know, 5 of the main ones. I touch on the Vision module. That's classic HMI SCADA module for creating desktop-oriented applications. Best used for traditional industrial environments with local clients. And then the newer one that they launched in version 8 is the Perspective module. This is the mobile-first browser-based application designed right from the ground up. Enables fully responsive design so that, you know, you can create it for a desktop, but you can pull it up on a phone or a tablet, and it'll resize with you know, with the perspective that you're actually pulling in. Enables remote access securely over HTTPS without any VPN. So if you're doing, and I am not well versed, but if you're doing like oil monitoring or high remote or very remote location monitoring, it makes it really easy to go through and access the information you want. Another powerful feature here is a tag historian. So this is logging real-time data tags into a SQL database with minimal configuration. So it really, you've got a lot of those process type data capture are going into like an InfluxDB or maybe a Mongo in the back end, and you can use those, but this allows you to turn, you know, the more traditional SQL databases into a highly responsive processing system. Supports querying historical data, automatic trending, charts, and analysis. Super powerful. We've used it multiple locations just to get us, off the ground and running, and then it just turns into a powerful back end. And along with that sort of data capture and the, how you're displaying the information, the alarm notification module we find is super important. So it allows for configuration and delivery of alarms via your traditional email, but also text native. So you're not sending an email to a phone number at VerizonMobile.com or something. It's got a voice integration module, so you can actually call and you'll hear a synthesized voice giving you the notification. Or it allows you the ability to set up custom pipelines. So I know there's Trello integration. I've seen it on the Ignition Exchange, which I'll talk to you about in a little bit. But there's a WhatsApp integration, lots of cool things that can be created with that custom pipeline, and set out via the alarm modules. And that module supports prioritization, filtering, escalation paths, the whole 9 yards that someone's been used to when it comes to alarming. And collecting all this data, you're letting people know what happens, but you also want to create the reporting side. So they have a reporting module as well that allows you to create automatic or on demand reports. Fairly easy. It's a drag and drop interface, and those reports can be scheduled, emailed, exported PDF, CSV, Excel, so on and so forth. There are a ton of modules that you can go through. These are the main ones that we've seen used, and there's a SQL bridge module that allows easy access into SQL-based databases. But again, it's got a powerful scripting engine in the background, so you could code all that in if you wanted to.
Yep. The alarming and the integration with Trello, I've actually seen a customer do some really interesting things in terms of having a work queue set up for different people. So as they're nearing a replenishment point, they'll actually automatically put a task into somebody's Trello queue of the material handling people need to deliver whatever material to this line at this time. It's integrated with maintenance and so forth, so that they put tasks in there for both the autonomous maintenance and preventive maintenance tasks that need to be performed based on the number of cycles and so forth. Really interesting capabilities around all of that. I think that here today, we're kind of nearing the end of the half hour here. You had a couple of examples that you wanted to go through too.
Sure. Before I do want to touch just on point. We talked about connectivity. I haven't seen anything Ignition can't talk to out of the box. That being said, we know a lot of customers have they've got a footprint existing with like a Kepware or using something like a HiByte or DeviceWise. So that very low layer of connectivity doesn't have to go away, because if you've already collecting that data, Ignition can go ahead and hook into those systems and start consuming that data right out the bat. So you're not doing a full reconfiguration of your systems. And there's an edge component as well, more lightweight than the gateway, but is designed to work either as an HMI or a data collection point right at the edge, connected to your field devices. But yes, I know we're getting very close. I did want to go through just a couple of examples. So in this dashboarding example, right, we had a customer who wanted to monitor basically 100 plus similar machines on their shop floor. So these were machines that were spinning material from for an automotive application. And as such, they needed to be restocked once the material ran out. Obviously, if you wait for it to run out and not have it prepped, there's downtime associated with it. And that material usage varied greatly between the product that was running or being made and the material that was being used. So we actually worked with the customer to incorporate their material usage algorithm into what we called a machine UDT, or user defined type. So a new station could be added by just adding a new instance of this UDT, and all we did was just call out the base. They were using OPC DA, so the base OPC tag. We also created a templatized ignition perspective view, and then created a dashboard that was able to display n number of those templates. And again, that was based on the number of machines connected. So basically, in short, what we did was create one editable dashboard element and one editable data acquisition element that was used as a base. And then we would cascade that out, and any changes made to that base, enhancements to the algorithm, updates on the visuals, those changes would be immediately updated throughout every instance of that template. So it didn't matter how many machines were added or removed. Once that data acquisition layer was completed, which is again just basically add a new station as an instance of the UDT, the system would automatically update the dashboard without any sort of manual intervention. So this gave the operations visibility not only into the amount of material remaining on their machines, but also the running status of machines, the product that was running on each individual machines, and the tooling setup on each of those machines, along with the ability to schedule or activate, deactivate each machine based on outside information from their existing ERP. Along with that, we created some simple table dashboards that were used in the restocking areas to give those types of operators a heads up as to what material needed to be restocked, along with a look ahead, so they could prepare their stations and be out there before it actually caused the machines to go down. And the key thing that I love about this was we use perspective. So there was no question on what devices it would be shown on. It was shown on line side monitors. They had TVs. They had one old school and on board 3-color. And some of the operators actually used the mobile devices, or it was a tablet. And it just worked for everyone in consuming the data. I know we're coming up on the last one, so I had another explanation around or demo around an MES Lite application, but I want to make sure we can share, how to get started with ignition.
Yeah.
So it is super easy. InductiveAutomation.com. You can download the software and all the connectors, and it'll run just like it would if it was licensed for 2 hours. So you can go through and test it out, try it out. They have a Docker version, which makes development and deployment and testing super easy. So that's a usage of the software. They have an incredible online training course, Inductive Automation University. You can start right at the bottom and start moving up. They've got, if you want to, you can get certified. I don't think I made it past 30% of the core. And I started, I've been developing on it for a couple of years now, but it helps you. It's so intuitive to use. And the nice part about the ignition community is it's very active. You can, if you have a question, it's not answered in the university, 9 times out of 10, they're answered on the ignition forum. Very knowledgeable people. And again, the community is very forthcoming with solutions and helping out each other. Because in the end, we all want to succeed, right?
Yep.
So yeah, that's my little spiel on how ignition can be used to update your legacy systems.
Excellent. Let's see. I think on the next slide you have how to reach out and talk to you if people want to get some more information about all that. And I'll
Yeah,
also say that Frank is going to be at the CSIA conference in 1 or 2
week.
weeks. Next
Yeah,
week.
next week. I'll be heading down to California. So if anybody wants any more discussions, our sales numbers up there, sales at sandalwood.com, and we're on all the socials. So come visit us. And Tim, thanks for the assist, bud.
Hey, no problem. We will talk again, my friend.
For sure. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.